wonder if we should start with like a 2-sentence check-in, just as we're getting ready to dive into our group. Does that seem like a good idea? Seems like we're sort of regathering after some people have been away. Some of us had very intense group experience last time.
I almost forgot, BJ, that you are in sunny Florida. So I was like, oh, BJ lives outside too.
Well, I'm actually in Virginia right now. I'm babysitting with my grandchildren, but I got a break. I get a 20-minute break.
Oh,
Are we checking in?
well, I suggested it. We have to see, how do you feel about it, Isabel?
You know, I am feeling like it feels like it would afford a little bit selfish about it because it would allow me to hear how people are. Because when you miss a week, you miss a month.
Yeah,
That's really what happens because it's every other week. If you don't come 1 week, you miss the whole month.
yeah.
I'm feeling a little bit kind of like, oh, what's been going on? And you know, the videos are great, but that doesn't compare to me to the interaction with people live, right? So because
Yeah.
for me that's important.
How many of you saw the video of last time? About half of us, I guess. It was, I made a clip of the last part, and there's one clip of BJ. But there were a lot of pieces that would be wonderful to have clips of. So if we do check in, I'll start because the person that recommends something should do it. I was just making that clip, so I feel like I'm very in that of feels like we've come such a long way in this group. And I feel very privileged to be with you guys, and I feel like we're learning so much, and I'm hoping that we'll go into another phase of what we want to do with all that we've learned. So in my personal life, things are going well. I'm very happy spring is coming. I think that's my check, and that was more than 2 sentences. Should I call on people on the just to have it be easier, quicker?
Well, I don't, I mean, I'd like to go next.
Good.
I was just finishing watching the, what do we call it? The recording from last time. And I'm just very, very moved by everyone.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry I was asleep then, but I'm really glad that I watched it. You know, I think it's something you can't just pick up and start talking about. It's like there's a certain momentum and closeness I felt that, and care that developed. But it was very meaningful.
Yeah.
And to me, I bet I'm the oldest person. I'm sure I am. So this was talks about death, feelings. So I have many, of course. That's my check-in.
So I won't call on people because I think, who would like to be next?
I guess I could check in. I had intended to rewatch the film, but I wasn't feeling well today, so I didn't get to it. But it was a particularly moving meeting, and Kate and I got to meet for focusing, and that was helpful for me during the week for my goal for the couple of weeks has been to write letters to my kids for when I'm gone. And it was really hard. I had a really hard time doing it and figuring out how to address it and what to say. And anyway, Kate, we were talking about death and her grandmother, and I had asked her if she had a letter from her grandmother. What was it that she would want to hear? And she said that it was about the good times in her life, the things that made her happy. So I included some of that in my letters. That was very helpful to hear, and about each of them. So it made what I had found to be a very challenging task. Task isn't the right word because it was something I wanted to do easier. It gave me some more ideas of how to address it. So I actually finished them. I didn't know if I did get them done.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is quite an accomplishment.
Yeah,
Wow,
it was.
I'm in awe a little bit of that. That's so amazing.
It felt like an accomplishment. Now I've been feeling really good this month, and until I got this little bug or whatever it is, but I've been feeling quite good physically as far as all the cancer stuff goes. And but anyway, take each day as it comes. And today was spring-like, but yeah.
I'll go. I think that I'm in a space of really, as the Buddha say, the 10,000 joy and the 10,000 sorrows. And just noticing how I'm in that and with that. I really appreciate this space coming together here and being here. It's a place of restoration, renovation, and realignment. So I really enjoy this. And just deep, deep bows of gratitude about being here and seeing what unfolds. Thank you.
I'll go next. I'm sorry I missed the meeting last time. In spite of coming back, I came back with a cold and I wore a mask at home for 10 days. But in spite of that, it was a very invigorating experience being at the American Group Psychotherapy Association conference. Feel very revitalized and connecting with people and building another community. So that was so. It was very meaningful, and the groups were just terrific. So feeling really good about that. There was one of the plenaries. It was about isolation, and all over the world there was people reporting to be more isolated. And then one of the things that according to the research done, that happiness has to do more with connection to people than anything else. So I think being connected to you guys, I mean, is a way to fight, isolation and be happier, So that's my that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nancy. Yeah, so I think I missed twice, so that feels really like a long time. And yeah. But well, I'm here tonight, and yeah, I'm almost going back to the States, and I really feel in a way uh far away in the sense, like everything, like the European news and all that that's going on in Europe, which is a little concerning. And yeah, so it's a big thing. Yeah, I saw last meeting's recording, and yeah, it was very touching and intimate. I found very special. Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious what will happen tonight, and it's good to see you. And I hope I'll stay awake. Um, and I can't figure out the recording with uh, both gallery and speaker view. So if somebody else feels up to it, then maybe somebody else can try.
You have to do it on the actual platform. You have to go
Yeah.
on the computer and do it there. You can't do it here.
Yeah, I know. I can get into the Zoom program, but I still don't know how to do it from there.
Ah,
So,
okay. Okay.
um,
Okay.
so I guess
I could help you because you have Lynn sign in, but not now, like tomorrow I can help you. Are
Mhm.
you flying tomorrow?
Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow.
No, Friday.
Yeah, so
Oh,
tomorrow.
okay.
Let's
Okay.
coordinate a time.
All
would-
right.
Very good for us to have the recording on both the gallery and the speaker, so we'll root for Isabel and Yoko to figure that out.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
Annette, I'll also put it in the chat for everyone if you want to do it. On your own account, obviously.
Great.
Right.
I guess I could go with something similar to Yoka. I've just been reading about the spiral of silence and pluralistic ignorance, which they're both kind of complicated, but the gist of it is that when we think our opinions are different than the majority, we stay quiet.
Mm.
And that's so frustrating that everyone is staying so quiet on things that they disagree with. And it is what it is. Anyways, that's what I'm thinking about right now. So that's what I'm sharing.
Is there anything that you feel like you would have less than the majority, that the most of the group people here would have a different opinion than you, that would be hard to say or something like that?
Not necessarily. I don't mean about the group per se. I mean mainstream media and what we see political parties talking about. It feels like it just feels like what's in the media is such a script, such a simplification of the richness of the living and knowing that people have. Anyways. That's my check-in. Thank you.
I'd love it if we can come back to that issue.
I like to hear what other people think. If it's different than mine.
I agree with Annette.
You want to say more for your check-in, Jim?
I just came back from the doctor getting shots of lidocaine in my neck.
Oh,
I don't know if that's interesting. I don't even know if it's interesting to me. I
hmm,
don't know if it'll work. I don't know what works.
hmm.
You must have pain in your neck.
Yes, I do. I both have it and am one.
A pain in the neck.
Yes.
Side for pain in the neck is rolling on tennis balls or lacrosse balls, like really hard balls. And I did it the other day with a roller, like a foam roller too, so I could like roll. That worked really nice on like, but you do your lower, like your back muscles, and that helps relieve the tension in the neck. I don't know the source of your pain, but it was helping me.
I also have pain in my back, so I should probably roll with my neck on those balls.
Yeah, you can kind of lean over the foam roller. It's really sad.
Well, I go to physical therapy twice a week, so I let them tell me what to do.
Mm. Did everybody check in?
We're missing
BJ?
Rachel, Kate.
Rachel?
So BJ and Kay
And Marvin, I think, didn't check in yet either.
and Marvin.
Did you, Rachel?
Mm-mm. But I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out where I am. That's why I haven't chimed in yet. I'm not sure where I am. I mean, physically and literally, thank goodness I do know where I am. But there might come a time, friends, when I do not. So open to that too. But I'm just waiting a little bit to see what's sort of there.
Kay went to take her daughter to school. She'll be back in 30 minutes.
Okay.
And I think Marvin might have stepped away also.
Oh,
It's
here
There
is
you are.
Marvin.
There he comes.
I apologize. I was waiting for a call back all day from the tax
Okay.
franchise board, and they say we're going to call you sometime today.
Mm.
Of course, you never know when it is. It just happened.
Mhm.
I apologize for that. My focus has really been over the last time on my own personal issues. I have knee surgery, replacement surgery scheduled 8 or 9 months from now, and I might be dead by then. My surgeon is so backlogged. So uh, in the meantime, I'm enjoying playing ping pong and getting so many laughs out of trying to hit that little ball.
Mm.
Um, my daughter from who lives in Eastern Europe is visiting me next week, and that's on my mind. I'm looking forward to it. Also a little leery about it. And another issue that's been on my mind is my teen grandson in Japan who suffers from ADHD has not been doing well, and medications that might help him are illegal in Japan. They're very common in the USA, but amphetamines are illegal in Japan,
Mhm.
and that's a troublesome issue. So sorry to be a downer, but those are really things I've been thinking about.
Where it is.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not a downer at all, Marvin. So, I mean,
Oh, it's a downer for me.
Mm.
but Rachel, I mean, that was a check-in for me. You know,
It's interesting that everybody who's mentioned health things have sort of apologized in a way. Like we're it's not interesting, it's a downer. that We're not supposed to have bodies that we're concerned about.
Mhm.
Did we hear from BJ?
Yeah, I felt like I kind of already checked in. I'm away from home. I'm taking care of my grandchildren, and so I'm in and out. But and I'm going home tomorrow, so that's nice.
Mm.
Yeah, I've been here for 5 days, 6 days, 6 days. My daughter-in-law is grand poobah counsel for Pfizer, and she has to travel all over the world for weeks at a time. So she's been in Paris all week, and so here I am, and I just love it. I'm so thankful that she has to go away because then I get to come. So that's it for me.
uh,
You look very fresh and youthful, BJ, in that environment.
yes,
They're
yes.
kind of windblown and
Yeah.
it's
Well,
free.
it's funny you should say that. I was in a meeting this morning with a teacher came, a special teacher, and I hadn't seen her in about a year and a half. And she said, "Oh, oh, that's you. You look so different." I said, I said, I feel different. Since a year and a half, a lot of things have happened. I
Mhm.
feel very different. So I'm always glad to be with y'all.
Mhm. Mhm. I guess I should check in, but it's odd. Um, I guess on the one hand, like I loved what Marvin shared about the ping pong balls and the ping pong and having some laughs. And I just felt delighted to hear that. And I guess I just would say I'm sort of, I feel like a little betwixt and between, like my normal existential exploration and angst about like, where's my mother? Where am I? Where do I belong? Where am I going? I'm in Maryland now at my best friend's house, and I'm supposed to, like BJ, go home tomorrow. And I don't have that sorted. And I have like a level of confusion, but also like a bigger level, like where is my home? Where am I going? What is going to feel belonging and connected? And what am I going home for? And, and just, and also then just trying to pull back from that, because not to ignore it, but to I can't kind of like belly flop into it, and to just come back to tonight. I'm taking my friend to dinner, or I'm going to have a little time with her, and that's important. So like the ping pong balls, to have something that gives me some joy in the moment, and also these big looming unresolved inside and outside sort of unknowing and unsolved and unsolvable maybe. So I'm sort of like with all of that in a way.
Mm.
That's a lot.
Mm. Thank you, Nancy, for that reflection. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I have the sense that people sort of know where they belong in their families, or what home is, or what their house and their household is, and who's there and who they belong to. And I imagine that, and that seems like something that would be very organizing. And I have just like a very ghost-like sense of the not having a certainty, or not even a permanence, but enough of a place where you're not always questioning your permanence or your impermanence, or what's really holding you on earth.
I have a reverse situation from Rachel because I know where my home is, but I don't know what's outside my house. So I stay home. I mean, going to Maryland and having a person there to stay with seems to me very exotic.
I relate to going home in quotes and sort of, maybe, I don't know if I read into this, but I got the feeling that that's hard because you don't know. There's so much not knowing or feeling of not belonging, or that's what I have when I'm also away and going in a week back to New York. That I consider my home, but sometimes it doesn't feel like that. But I sometimes feel I don't have a home, that it's okay not to have a home, that inside is a questionable home. You know, sometimes it's like a hut or a tent or maybe just a sleeping bag. And maybe that's the best, I don't know, the best I can make it. There's a lot to do with family, as I think sensed yours does, Rachel. The homeless feeling. Boy.
Yeah, Rachel, I think I mean, I'm trying to get a sense of, like from what you're saying, I mean, in trying to find words, but this feeling about me not feeling rooted, is concerning, you know. Um, so it's so difficult, Um,
It, even though you, Jim, said that you were the opposite of Rachel, what Rachel said reminded me of your reflection to the helpers group about who are we and where are we going, what is our lives about, or something like that.
But that's about a we. See, that would Rachel would wonder, who's Jayshree and why am I staying in her house? But she's not wondering that. That's normal for her.
You're saying you don't feel a we. There's no we for you?
I have to kind of grope at it. It's not a normal part of expression. Like Annette was saying earlier about all these news reports somehow being, I forgot the word she used, but like scripted and about the wrong things. I often feel that the outside world is concerned with the wrong things all the time and involved with things that aren't what I'm involved with, and I don't know how to relate to it. But if I stay home, it's going to be all right.
You feel at home in your home and in yourself. that in yourself is
Yes.
the home.
Hmm.
And that seems so important, to be able to come home to yourself and to feel a home inside yourself.
But sometimes I'd like to go out. But usually I change my mind pretty soon and come back home.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's a safety in your home and in yourself.
Home makes sense to me, yeah.
Hmm.
Home sounds very close. Like,
Yeah,
you know, the house or the apartment and inside you, but go outside and it gets dicier and dicier.
yeah. I wanted to suggest to Rachel, why don't you just come over here? We have a home here. You can just stay here for a while.
Thank you very much. I'll be over shortly.
Okay, we have a place for you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Hmm.
That had such a lovely feeling.
Yeah.
Just come and be at home with me
Yes.
feeling.
Come live with me.
I was attuned at the conference. A lot of people felt that they didn't belong.
That
People
they
my
So
age,
what?
That they
they didn't feel
belong.
like belong. And
Mm.
then, grown people, I mean, mature. It was interesting. Um, so in my group, the men's group, people expressed not feeling that belong, that they didn't feel like they belong. And then other presentations, people talked about it too. And then I was thinking about what Lynn said one time with us, that we've talked about belonging in the group a lot, and then how we can claiming our space, you know what I mean, or claiming
Claiming
belonging.
belonging.
Yeah. And then so I felt, because I was really terrified in the men's group. I felt like I wouldn't belong there, and I had a strong panic before, and then I talked about it. I said that I felt that the more I talked, the more I felt like I belong. And so I'm not saying, I mean, it's just an experience, but
I've never felt I belonged in men's groups. I've been in them. And they didn't work for me.
By what you said, Roberto, about the more that you talked, you took the risk to talk, the more you felt like you belonged.
yeah, I mean, I felt, that I needed to do that in order to kind of want to fight, I want to fight my fear to be there, and afraid that I wouldn't connect. Um, but it ended up being a very different experience, that people, had a lot of compassion and tenderness and caring and loving. And so it was really wonderful. Um, I always feel this wall between straight and gay men, that even though straight men might be very open and liberal, there's always a wall. And then sometimes, but I didn't feel as much there. I mean, so it was really interesting. Um,
How did the straight men receive, what happened that made you feel less of a, division between you?
that maybe that they were willing to, in between, we had 2 hour lunches, and then we go out together and talked and shared, and afterwards too. I mean, there was, so that really was important to me. And then there was a dance on Friday night, and then everybody was dancing, but I got to dance with my with my roommate from Utah, a married man with 3 kids. We're
Mhm.
dancing. So, and then and dancing with all the men there, just, and it was no big deal.
Mhm.
Just so it felt really, felt great,
Mhm.
uh, um, and I mean, I would have understood if my roommate felt uncomfortable, but he didn't. He said, "No, I want to be part of things." He said, I don't mind dancing with you." Um, so
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
just,
So it was the connection that sounded
yeah,
like it
yeah,
made a difference.
yes, yeah,
Such a
connecting,
big deal,
yeah.
such a big deal. I'm going to be visiting some grandchildren in Costa Rica at the beginning of April. And I haven't seen them for 2 years. And they've been through a lot in the meantime. So I want to reconnect. Um, but I get anxious about it and hope that I will be in a different place and not known, in a very different place with a different language, and I don't speak Spanish. And the kids have been learning some English in school, so that'll be helpful. But it's the connection that makes all the difference. So hopefully we'll be able to have that even when we don't have as much clarity in speaking, but I think that talking to somebody and being accepted is such a huge piece of feeling the connection. And I think that it's made a difference here in our group.
Mhm.
With our connection to one another.
I want to ask something, but I'm tentative about asking it. So I have to, after I ask it, I'll sort of center on why I feel. I guess I'm afraid of, what I want to ask is how it felt for Marvin and how it feels for you, Jim, to hear Roberto talk about that gap between the gay men and the straight men, and the feeling of the straight men being willing to dance with him. But then I didn't want to put you on the spot, and I thought, well, who am I to ask that?
Mhm. Mhm.
But I don't think I don't think it's so strange. So certainly it's not strange in San Francisco that uh, gay men and straight men interact. And I go to dances. I don't know who I'm dancing with, but I go to a queer dance, as it turns out, and and at the beginning of the dance, we are asked to identify ourselves by our pronouns.
Mhm.
And at one time I got it wrong. Well,
Mhm.
that is.
How could you get it wrong?
Well, I got it wrong with another person who said their pronouns were they and them, and I didn't really recognize what that meant because I'm not in that community usually,
Mhm.
and but that person corrected me, and I apologized for getting it wrong, and we went on.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Uh, I wanted to throw out. I am in a men's group, and rather unique part of the men's group is that the men do not they pour out voraciously about their own stuff, but they want no interaction. They want no reflection,
Mm.
and they are upset. I'm the only one. I say, I want interaction. I want some reflection. I want some response.
Mm.
And it's very frustrating for me.
Mm.
I'd say, I mean, there are a few gay guys in that group, as well as straight, and it doesn't seem to make any difference. That
Mm. Mm.
I think people are individuals, and we can't we 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 can't. I can't identify whether a guy is straight or gay just by looking at him.
Are you saying you don't have a gaydar?
Pardon? I didn't understand, Isabel.
So I say, if you don't have a gaydar.
You have to explain, Isabel.
Yeah, I don't
Gay
get it.
radar
Gay radar.
that allows you to identify.
No, I don't.
You gotta work on that.
No, I don't know. Is it important?
I don't know. I don't know, but my wife is constantly with her antennas up. And I think that comes from how she's perceived and how many times she's been chased out of the women's bathroom, right? So,
Mm.
so she's always checking the scene now, and I think it's about safety to go back to what Jim was sharing about feeling safe at home. And it's also about belonging. So I say of myself that I'm a bean counter. When I'm in a room, I'm counting how many people of color are in there as opposed to gay people. Because to
Mm.
me, as an individual, not that the other piece is not important, but because living in a Black body, I am more at risk because I can pass, even though I don't. I can pass as a straight cisgender woman
Mm-hmm.
unless I start talking. But I cannot pass as a woman in a Black body. And so I as soon as I walk into a room or a restaurant, I'm more prone to look for that than I am to look for other gay people.
Mm.
And for me, it's also about safety, it's about belonging, it's about community, it's about, do I belong here? Is this place safe for me? Right? So
Mm.
yeah.
But you identify as a woman of color. I identify as an older person. I was taken aback when somebody said I was elderly, and that really shocked me to be put in that class. But
Mm.
as regards to your point, Isabel, I do notice when I'm in a group, are there any older people here?
Mhm.
Etc.
Mm. And you know, I think one day we did talk about this. Or at least I remember I brought this. I constantly have to kind of like keep a barometer of who I'm leaving behind or whether I'm bringing all of who I am into a particular setting. And
Mm.
it's truly exhausting. It is truly exhausting. Here's a random thought today. So today, someone came in my office and I have a picture of Sarah and I. And, you know, I'm not in the class at my job. If people think, I don't know what they think I am, but I'm not, right? In the closet in that way. And this person came in and they know I'm married to Sarah. And they were like, oh, wow, this is a beautiful picture. And then they left. But then what I was left with was, a parent maybe, oh, maybe someone else. And it's that constant kind of like self-examination that goes on for me around my many identities. Because I'm also a parent, I'm also, you know, an immigrant. It's just like the list, it's endless. And when we talk about here belonging and connection, um, the level of awareness that I have to bring in order to connect, it's exhausting because I'm
Wow.
doing that every day. Every day I have to, you know, go to the catalog to see what am I bringing out today. You know, it's every day, every moment, right? So when we talk about connection and belonging and you know, Rachel, to your point of where am I? For me, is where do I belong? It's like constant, right? Um, and Marvin, in reference to what you're saying, that the guys in your group, they mostly pouring out. They don't want to hear any mansplaining. They just want to pour out, and that's it. You know, I'm thinking for myself. Sometimes I want people to understand and hear what this is like for me, right? Like, what is this like for me? Nancy, when you say, oh, I'm going to Costa Rica, you know, and I don't speak Spanish and I want to reconnect. And I felt that, and I'm sitting here. So to that point, I'm privileged, right? Because I speak Spanish. So I could go to Costa Rica and not have that angst about, oh, and I don't speak Spanish. But I'm going to have another angst. I'm going to have something other than that, right? Like my skin color. And so when I went to Costa Rica, I was perceived as Black. And many people would say to me, what did you learn to speak Spanish? You know? And then I say, I'm Dominican. And then that created a belonging once I say I was Dominican. So for me, it's a whole different dance, and it's all the time around all of these different things. Anyway, I'm taking up too much space right now. I'm gonna receive.
But
Don't
not knowing how people are
really.
going to accept those different parts of you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's every day, every moment that I have to make a decision about that. So by the time I come home, I have experienced that in many different ways, right? All day, all the time. So that's a level of being exhausted about it that happens.
You
When
you
we
had,
were first, I'm sorry, Nancy.
no, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna go back, so, but you had something right there that you wanted to say to Isabel. I
Oh,
was
you
gonna
had
go back to yes, go ahead.
you had spoken earlier of a lot of difficulties that you've been going through with your family. And I thought you might want to speak of that.
You're
Oh,
muted.
Isabel, you're
And
muted.
you're
Yes. I actually do want to speak of that. And I was gonna bring that in as we started. I don't know if Lynn had a chance to say we wanted to also talk a little bit about projects here today. So I was
Didn't
gonna,
get a chance to say it, but but we'll say it now that at the end, it would be great if we could spend a few minutes about the projects. Go ahead, Isabel.
what am I going ahead about? I'm kind of lost right now. I'm going ahead about what's going on with me, Nancy.
I would like to hear what's going on with you.
So let me start this with, and I know this is being recorded, right? That's another aspect of my sort of like experience. how will other people who weren't here, if they see this, perceive me? And in perpetuity, when, and you know, we've been talking about death and dying, and not nobody's permanent. When somebody else gets a hold of this, right? And none of us are around, what would they say? So that's some of the things. But here's what I'm gonna say. So about 2-3 weeks ago, and this is the very short version, my grandson, who's 19, was in a car accident and there was a fatality. And this happened in Jersey, and he was arrested. But they didn't arrest him the same day. He stayed on site. He wasn't drinking or anything like that. He stayed on site, and the next, I don't know, I think that 2 days later he went and, you know, he wanted to turn himself in, even though the police had, and he suffered some injuries too. And so I've been struggling with the shame, somehow there's shame arising about that. There's also fear. So all of those things have been coming. So he's presently in jail in New Jersey because they don't have no bail. So here's what I'm gonna say about that. So this country incarcerates more people per capita than any other country. And the criminal justice system here tilts toward that unfairness towards people of color and Latinx and minorities in general, right? And so when the accident happened, even though my grandson was also hurt, the police immediately made him a suspect, handcuffed him, didn't give medical attention. It was like, you gotta be doing something wrong. And so out of all that, and this is why I say I'm so grateful for this group, part of what arose for me, it's how can a space be created where we can come together, and by the we, I mean the people who know him, the, you know, the family, the friends, and be in conversation and create support. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna create a Zoom, and we'll call it a prayer circle. And we've been meeting every single day at 9 o'clock. And it started out to be a 15-minute kind of thing, and it's now an hour. And we have about 30 people every night, sometimes more, sometimes 28, sometimes 27. And we started with 15 minutes, and people have been asking for more time. And the format that we're using, and to your point, we're not reflecting anybody, Marvin. It's basically people can share a prayer, share a you know, a Bible verse, or preach the Bible, sing a song. His mother likes to play, he writes songs, so his mother likes to play songs that he has written. And you know, and we share screen of pictures of him. So in some way, this both feels like we are celebrating his life, but also almost like there's a loss here. So balancing those two places, and I'm sharing that because in some way that came out of this gathering here, out of what we do here, and how much I hear people say how supportive this is, myself included. And so I was like, this is what I can do. And it just had turned out to be such a blessing. His mother, it's just so comforted by being in this community. And so that I said to Lynn today, that's my project. That's turned out to be my project. So in a moment of darkness, and I'm sharing this just so you guys can see how valuable this group is to me. This is what came. I was like, wait, Wednesday night, we come together, and why not create something like that? And it just have turned out to be so beautiful and so powerful. And his mother feels really supported. And no one is reflecting anybody. No one is saying, oh, you shared this and it sounds like that. But it just the listening, the witnessing someone else. So So that's kind of like what's going on with me. And you know, we love him a lot. When he was younger, we took him in a lot of trips with us, Sarah and I. And we lived up to 4 years ago. We lived literally around the corner from each other. So we always were together. And he has a very kind heart, and he's a very kind person. And New Jersey has very, very strict law about about that. And you know, so he can be looking at a lot of time. And I, you know, so that's really been weighing in my heart. And talk about impermanence. When I only watched, today was my worst day with computer. I watched a little bit of the thing. And as people talk about transition and death and dying, I was thinking about that, like what will happen? You know, how is that relationship gonna be severed? So that's what I'm holding right now. And so both the sorrow, what's happening, but the joy of being able to create community out of a situation like this. So I hope that was clarifying and you guys can understand why last week I was like, I can't, because we were gonna have a family meeting about the next day was gonna be um I don't know what they call it, a hearing to see if the person can go home on because they don't have bail in New Jersey. So you either get to go home on your own reconnaissance or whatever they call it, or you don't. And so the notion that you are innocent until proven guilty doesn't even exist, since you cannot go home until your trial. It's just bizarre. So that's what I've been dealing with, just seeing the disparity of how things happen, because there's Senator Melendez running around everywhere. And though he was accused of bribery and almost treason, but he's running around like a chicken without a head everywhere. So clearly the New Jersey law does not apply to him.
Wow. Wow. And he's still alive and living and with all of his kindness, etc., and having to deal with this horrendous law.
When you said, Isabel, what will happen? Are you afraid that he'll die?
So I've been afraid of that he would die. And by die, I mean that parts of him would die. So there will be that sort of like spiritual death of what it means to not be free. But that's also, I have thought about that for some people, being incarcerated, it's really, really, really a harsh thing. And you know, like, and we say he's not about that life, meaning that's not how he is. Like, he's not a kid that ever been in trouble, and mostly, you know, chose his friend wisely. So, you know, yeah, that there could be a physical death, because prisons here can be quite dangerous, or a spiritual sort of death of where your spirit's just broken, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I read a poem? This is from Mary Oliver, and I think it speaks to me. It's like almost every mother or parent has sort of like done this. And it says, I walk and crept like a cat on silent feet about my own house to look at you while you were sleeping, your hair sprayed on the pillow, your eyes closed, your body safe and solitary, and my doors shut for your safety and your comfort. I did this thinking I was intruding, yet wanting to see the most beautiful thing that has ever been in my house. And what this brought for me is how I was creeping around when my kids were little, as not to wake them and just to make sure they were safe. And I think every parent has done that to one extent or another. In the middle of the night, when they're taking a nap, especially when they newborn, you like looking around. I know I was checking their breath and all of those things. And it really touched me to read that. And it's painful in some way because I know his mother, it's probably waking up in the middle of the night and going to his room. And he's not there.
Isabel, I don't know. It's just so kind of. I mean, I feel getting a lot of support and fighting, feeling powerless, and when you said that he might spend some time in jail, it was just my heart dropped. It was scary, just very scary. There's a lot of unfairness, of course, with people with politicians and the wealthy get away with murder, so just I don't know. We appreciate you sharing this with us.
And Lynn and the team know that I didn't want to bring this into this space initially when it first happened, right? And I want to appreciate Lynn and Joka and Susan for holding contact for me because I didn't even know how to bring this in. So I told one of my friends, one of the things that in my family would have said is that at least unto this, none of us have been incarcerated. And it's almost like, okay, I just joined another statistic, which goes back to what I was saying. Right? So
Thank you for sharing it, though. We need to hear it.
Yeah.
thank you for listening.
Does he have a good lawyer? That's what I want to know.
Well, he has a good lawyer as far as we can tell. Someone from New Jersey who used to be a DA. So I think that that's a plus. The person's father is a judge. I'm assuming this person is well connected, but I don't know, I mean, it's just, it was a tragedy and someone died. And I think that it's also a political statement. It's election season. And a lot of these people are appointed, elected, and they have to show that they're making an example of someone, and whoever that someone may be, it doesn't really matter, right? So, the maximum that you can get is 30 years.
Oh my God.
I feel so sad and heavy, and there's such tenderness and fierceness, Isabel, that you're holding him in. And I hope that we can hold you with that same fierceness and tenderness. Something sacred about this young boy being in this nightmare.
And you guys already are doing that. I have to say again, my my sort of like, oh, let's make a group. Let's make this. Came out of this, right? Because this is so supportive, and just being in community shifts how we deal with something. It may not shift the outcome, but it definitely shifts the way in which we hold up. And I am telling you, I know his mom is devastated, right? And every night she gets that, and it's like being enveloped in the hope and the care of everyone in the, and that's only possible for me to create that out of this group, out of the work that Lynn and Yoka and Susan and Clara and Romel that we've been doing. Community empowerment. This is truly community empowerment, that group. You know, everybody comes and read a poem, say a prayer, whatever they want to do with it. There's no restriction on what they want to do or what they do. Yeah.
Too bad he can't be a part of it.
Actually, he is a part of it because
wow.
he knows at what time it is. And he doesn't have a clock, obviously, there. But, you know, we have really say and speak to, and this is true for me also about this group, that whether I come or not, I know that this is a space where I belong. Hands down. And he knows that at 9 o'clock every night, that's happening.
Okay.
So he's not there. So he called and he recorded a message. And then we played it last night, I think it was, or the night before. Him expressing the gratitude and appreciation for people coming together for him and with him. So that was very sweet.
Would you be able to share a couple of his songs with us? Could you send them to us?
I will ask his mom and for her to ask him. I think that that's the proper thing to do. Mm-hmm.
That would be really nice for us to.
Maybe we could also share songs with him, I'm imagining.
I don't know if Annette's still there, but I know Annette says something about the silence, that sometimes the silence comes in conflict. I think it's what Annette said, what you said before. But I think that this silence comes not because you guys are in conflict or don't know what to say. I think it's just to what I share. And I'm so deeply grateful for all of you guys being a container. And I have to tell you, and you can take this to the bank. This group, my meditation community, and my friends are what's carrying me forward. It just, I know that, you know, he's not a grandson that I saw occasionally. It's not. It's a grandson that when he was born, I started calling him the laughing Buddha because I never seen a kid more joyful. It was like unbelievable. Like this kid was always joyful, and just beautiful. So thank you for holding that. And you know, this is when he. So my daughter got married in 2021. So this is to 2024. So the wedding was in 2021, so like 2 and change. And he still looks the same way. So I'm gonna play this because he looks the same way. He looks like a kid. Can I can do a share. Oh, can I share? Joker, somebody?
You can
Can I?
you can make
Yeah, share screen,
co-host.
Yeah.
make Isabel the host.
Okay, say the same.
Mm.
Can I do it now? No, it still
I don't-
say disable. You gotta make
Disable?
me, yeah, you gotta make me co-host or something in order for me to be able to do it.
Yeah, I don't see how I do that.
It say host disable participant screen sharing. So whoever is the host, we need to
Oh, okay.
Under security, it says security,
Okay, it's
click on
the
security.
security. I
And
don't
look
see.
where it says screen sharing.
Oh, security. Okay.
You see where it says screen sharing?
Share screen.
It
Yeah.
says allow people to share a screen. Click on that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I did that.
Okay. So this is how he is all the time. I'm telling you, and he doesn't look much different even at 19 than what he does now. So I think you guys, it says disable again. Okay, now it's doing it. Oh, no,
Okay.
okay.
Hmm.
Wait, let me stop so you can actually see it and hear it. Oh my gosh. So this is my so that was my daughter's wedding in 2021. And that's how big his fear, because he's a tiny person. He's 5 feet.
Yeah.
And skinny, and he looks like he's 13.
Yes.
So
Mm.
that's how big his fear, that he's around, in an environment where he really doesn't fit in, and so
Mm.
so now you met Joseph.
Mm.
And his joyful self, because he's always smiling. Thank you so much. This really means a lot. So I will share that in the group tonight, that Joseph made a visit to this group.
Mm.
My heart is with him.
Did we lose Lynn?
No, I thought so too. She's right
She
under you.
moves.
She's under me? No, she's
Mhm.
not.
She's in the middle for my.
Oh, there you are.
What happened?
She's not host anymore, so
She
she's
dropped.
in that area, in the host
dropped.
area.
Oh.
What
Mm.
made her descend?
She's not host.
Was demoted.
The host gets that spot.
Ah, a yoga spot. Yeah.
Lynn was
Then
demoted.
you're muted.
You're muted, Lynn.
That's terrible. Yeah, my internet just went out for a minute, but I did see the video. It's wonderful. And it helped me to see that, because I was feeling this weight. And even though we're together holding this, it was feeling that the silence was a kind of solemnness, that it's almost in awe of this situation. And seeing him dancing, there was so much life in that. And it felt like it gave me the other side of the coin, the side of, you know, this is a kid that has a lot of life and a lot of resilience.
Yeah.
Isabel, I'm wondering if the shame feeling has changed in sharing.
So it has. I don't know how many of you were around when Clara's niece was killed in a car accident, and the pain and the grief that Clara experienced. And I haven't told her this because I don't want to be a trigger for her, right? And I love her dearly, and I just saw her, and I didn't share this with her. And maybe she's gonna see it now because we send this video out to everybody. And I didn't tell her because I saw how much she suffered when this happened to her niece. And it were different circumstances. I think the person was drinking and when driving the wrong way. I don't remember the details. But that's kind of like the shame, right? And I know, Susan, that's on you. I'm not gonna share this, but I that's the shame. Like I don't want. So that's a bit of shame, but that's also a bit of not wanting to do trauma dumping on people. And also there's that piece, I don't know, Roberto, maybe this is what you say. I also don't want to be alone with this. I don't want to be alone with this.
Absolutely.
And I don't know, but Marvin often say, oh, I want to hear people deepest thoughts and what's happening with you really. And you know, and sometimes that's not easy to do. It is not easy because the vulnerability that comes with that for me, the sort of like feeling naked, the sort of like feeling like I'm exposed and you know that I'm sharing parts of myself again that I haven't shared here in that way. So so yes, there's a ease around the shame. And this happened, I don't know. So it happened on the 26th of February. And so I've been here since then, but I haven't. So thank you for giving me the space to share that. And it is not my intention to share it in a way where you have to hold it and have that weigh you down, but that in the collective, there is healing. That wellness is the we. Illness is the I by myself.
And we can hold it with you. You don't have to be alone with it.
There's something there for me, but I can't quite put it into words, but it feels like the shame is a shame of something that your grandson didn't, he wasn't drinking. There was a terrible accident. And then there's something I think that happens around something that's out of control, an accident that's tragic. And I don't think that Clara would feel traumatized in any way that would be blaming your grandson. But I know I'm not finding the right words for that feeling. I think it's natural when there's a terrible tragic accident for there to be blame and shame. But it's
Yes.
just the out of controlness, the unpredictability, the shock, the oh my God kind of feeling. The same, the same as in a war, or the same as many other things that are just like, oh my God.
I'd like to share something here, and it's interesting because my partner, he tweets a lot about car culture and just how we've overly built our cities now around cars. Like, well, they just get a disproportionate amount of the space. And I'm kind of putting these two things together, but in a way, I don't think we want that, right? When we go to Europe, we go, oh, it's so wonderful. There's the plazas and beautiful, and we don't have that so much in North America. And it's like, bring it back to that spiral of silence, right? Like, we all want different cities, more or less, probably. Well, we'd have to do a survey. We could do a poll. And so I kind of feel, Isabel, I'm feeling shame for like not being more active in talking about the cities I want, so that we wouldn't have, cars that can go so fast, or all these other things, all these things that are roads that have lanes that are so wide, which encourage cars to go faster. Like, there's all these things that happen. I don't know if speed was involved, but anyways, like there's so often so many deaths happen from cars, and we just accept it. We just think, oh, it's fine. We don't want to give up the privilege of driving around in a car, and it's crazy to me. So I feel like in a way we should all be ashamed. We are the ones who should be. I don't think you should be ashamed at all, because it was an accident. But us all collectively not demanding that our cities be different. I don't know. I can be pretty passionate about that and all the other things that we could have different cities or different societies. Like, we don't collectively take care of each other with these rules that are too convenient.
I was thinking how I would feel in a situation had my grandson been in the same situation as your grandson, and I'd be so worried. I I would be very sad for the other person who was killed, but I'd be so all my attention would be on my worry and my anxiety, my concern about grandson's mother or father and what might happen. And oh, I can just imagine. I feel for you in this situation, Isabel, because it could easily happen. Annette says, this is a crazy society we live in.
A society too that I think wants to assign blame. So we kind of to control things, to think we understand, if we can put the fault on a particular human being or a thing. And I think it's much more complicated than that, but I can feel the blame. I would have a lot of fear of that. And yeah, I'm wondering how your grandson is doing inside himself. Just.
So he has been devastated. As I say, there was a fatality, and he has been devastated. And I cannot say this enough. This kid is like personifies loving. like, grandma, like that. He has a doggy that it's like a year old, and he loves that dog. He loves that dog. Um, and when his father and mother went to visit. So here's the other thing about this thing. Only 5 people can be on the list of visitors, and you can only change them once a month. So once you add somebody, you can't take them out until a month has gone by, right? And only those people can go. But anyway, so they went to visit him, and he was devastated over what you say, Marvin, the other family, right? Because this is a tragedy for everyone. And very remorseful and ashamed, and I can see that I'm holding some of his shame
Right.
in that way, right? Because he's also ashamed of what he's putting his parents through and putting us through, right? And it's the system. So that's a couple of days he hasn't been able to connect with us because the whole place is on lockdown. And then you can't really connect with people unless they give you a tablet, but they don't have enough tablet to give to people. It's just like, who makes these things up? But to the point of the shame, Susan, I think a part of me is holding his shame and his pain. And I am very anxious about, and I've been thinking, oh my God, 30 years, I'm 60, I'll be 90, I probably would be senile.
He's not going to get 30 years. I mean,
Right?
New Jersey, if it was Alabama, I'd worry, but New Jersey, I don't think so.
I don't know, and that's the biggest fear, that you're dealing with the unknown, right? You don't know what's gonna happen. I think we
I
all-
hear cases all the time. My son is a lawyer and he's defending people. He's a public defender.
I don't see Lynn again. Oh, there you are. Lynn, you keep disappearing. What's going on? Oh,
Muted.
you're muted.
So sorry, there's something with AOL. It's just acting up.
Mm.
But if I disappear, I'll be right back.
Jim, thank you for that hope. And Masumi, I know you're here, and I don't know that any of us has acknowledged that you're here. And Kay, I don't know if you came back, but just want to say thank you for holding content if you are here. And I hope I haven't been talking too fast today.
There's Kate. Good to see you, Kate. I was thinking that Masumi might not have known about the daylight savings time, so I don't know if that.
Masumi knows all about daylight savings time. I focused with her recently.
Oh, good.
He
Good.
was here.
And we need Rachel back.
And BJ, I think it's maybe listening back with her grandchildren.
Yeah.
I'm here also. I'm just off screen for a minute. But I'm here.
Can you tell I'm with grandchildren?
You share that with us.
I've just been,
You have that look, the
I've
being
just
the grandchildren look.
I've just been rocking the screaming 2-year-old for about the last 30 minutes because my son is with the not yet screaming 4-year-old. But Isabel, I've heard everything you've said, and I just the image that keeps coming for me is this ocean of compassion
and the space in that ocean of compassion. And whatever it was that made it where this little group is able to be a we that can hold. Rachel, you said it so beautifully, the unsolved and unsolvable. The, what is that word? Imponderables, the intractable lifeness of life. And you said something about trauma dumping. I think I know what you meant, Isabel, but would you say more about that?
So thanks for that. I think that it's getting a bad rap, and I think it doesn't allow people to share their pain. At
Yeah.
least it didn't allow me to share my pain, right? But that language or trauma dumping refers to when people start talking about a traumatic experience with someone without having been asked for it. And asked for it, it's kind of like the therapist in the role of therapist, it's literally asking for it and ready to receive it, right? And I think that that's another way in which, and this is totally my thinking, in which we can create separateness. And we create this space where, unless I'm talking about this with my therapist, then this has no place someplace else. And I think that alienates. And so here's the duality. As a therapist, I'm thinking of that. But as a grandmother, I'm thinking, who else can I get in this prayer circle? Right? That's the duality of these two pieces. And it seems like for me, my whole conversation this evening has been about all the different places that I occupy and how sometimes there's tension between those places. And what this group does for me, and I can only speak for myself, as many times I would say what this group is about. What this group does for me is soften that space where the tension is at between those two places. And so that I can then be with people in a different way. That's what it does for me here. And sometimes I'm not aware of that. Only until after it's done, then I can be with that. Which I think today I was telling Lynn, we need to get better at doing it in real time. So, and thanks for asking, but that's, that's where the dichotomy exists for me as a therapist. I'm frequently mindful of not sharing certain things because of out of concern of how the other person will receive it. Like what I'm saying about Clara. I witnessed Clara grief.
Isabel,
And I know that that's a re-trigger of QB.
I'm just, this is sort of a thought not fully formed, but there was a way that you talked to us and we heard it and talked back that was so, it wasn't dumping. It was something, it was talking and there was a process. I mean, it's not like we were victims and you dumped some painful, searing thing on us. So that's wasn't trauma dumping at all. The last thing, I mean, it was sort of the opposite. We became more able to take in and talk about the trauma, wonder about your grandson, get into particulars.
I love what you just said, Susan, about how we became more able to talk, to hold the trauma, to talk.
Mhm.
And I think of therapy, and I would say that this group is therapeutic. It's not therapy, but it's therapeutic, is to be able to say the unsayable and think the unthinkable and then bear the unbearable.
Mm.
And it's in that sharing that we can find language to share our pain with each other, that we become stronger. And I think that happened last time also when we were talking about death, that we became stronger in it.
Mhm.
I
Lynn,
think that there was a bit of a challenge in BJ's asking about trauma dumping, or at least I read that into it, that the term itself is blaming the victim.
Mhm.
You know, in Gene's thing that he had with me about bad words, you know, certain words were bad words he was joking about, and trauma dumping, he didn't say, but that would certainly be in my book a bad word.
Thank you, Susan, for giving me some language here for what transpired. And you too, Lynn, really appreciating that and appreciating the distinction of how then I don't use the word victim, I use survivor, how the survivors then get blamed for talking about their experience, and then there's that kind of thing going on too, right? So really thank you for that. And BJ, thanks for asking me that question.
Mhm. I'm on my phone, and so I can't see everybody, but is Mary here?
No.
No.
Okay. I just was hearing her voice in my head, and I was going to ask her to speak.
Mm.
But we do have Miss Sumi here. Hi, Miss Sumi.
I must.
I've been listening to all the story, and I have been very much touched. I didn't feel that you were doing trauma dumping. It was so sincere. I could empathize with the world you are holding, and also you taught me, oh, that's one way to help survivors get together and lessen the grief. About a few days ago, I have lost the leader of the committee that I belong to, who has been very, very active and very energetic, and it was a sudden death. And all the members were so shocked. You gave me a hint. We may have a Zoom meeting. So it was really helpful. I've been listening. I was eating breakfast, sorry, so I didn't show up. But yes, it was not heart weighing anything in my heart. It is heartwarming to hear your story. Thank you so very much.
I have something else, and that's about what might distinguish us as a group who honor focusing as a very important, stabilizing, life-bringing, transforming practice. What might focusing, well, we know about focusing, offer us in this moment? I mean, what comes to my mind immediately is that we're keeping company with the aspect of you, Isabel, that is just so full of concern. And no wonder, of course you would be, that we're keeping company, we're reflecting back what that part might be, feeling, and what might be soothing to it. I especially appreciated Jim saying that, well, maybe not, that it makes sense that you think of 30 years, and maybe not 30 years, to hear that agony in you, and to offer a tiny step away from it. So that's one thing. And I like you did earlier, Lynn, about the homosexuality issue, or the bisexual issue with the men here. I'm aware that my training in focusing is so impacted by Ann Weiser Cornell's use of our ability to hear other voices in our hearts, and how that sort of flies in the face of wholeness, oneness. No, we're one, we're not a bunch of different parts inside ourselves. So in the group, I've become more and more hesitant to say anything about that. It's a metaphor to say there's a part of me that just at this moment, there's a part of me that is just, my heart is racing, and I just want to scream and run out of the room for you, Isabel. Just totally out of regulation. And that part of me is like reaching out to you, Isabel, to those other aspects of you that I've heard and seen in this group. That aspect, that you know who you are. And you have a kind of a one of the shamanic prayers I love is, you who know the personal and keep to the impersonal. Meaning that, and like an eagle flying high above the battlefield. I have seen that aspect of you, and it comforts me that when I am so rattled. So I'm listening to you, and I'm grateful for you to share that part of you that's vulnerable. And at the same time, I have this confidence in that other aspect of you that I have witnessed, I have experienced, I have brought into myself as a healing. That you are the one who rides the goddamn bus and is in a giant hurry and get here, and you risk the wrath of your spouse, which I'm constantly doing because I'm 1 minute after 8. And in some ways in this group, Isabel, you are the ground. The metaphorical Isabel, you are the ground for some of us when we're like just floundering about and discerning, and just you have the precision and the clarity of a surgeon. I still am confused about a bunch of stuff you've said to me, and others might be as well. But what I know is there is some crazy wisdom there. And I know that crazy wisdom is you too. But back to my question. What each of you, as people who focus, what can you draw on that honors what we know of focusing and lifts that up as a tool in these moments?
I can say, Lynn, sorry, do you want to say something? It's almost.
I was just going to say that BJ is asking a wonderful question, but we may be saved by the bell, and just
Mm.
the bell rang, but I want to hear what you were going to say. Rachel, even if spouses and partners get mad at
Yes.
us being a few minutes late.
Me
I was
too. Yes.
okay. Yeah, I was just going to say that in answer to your question, BJ, what comes for me and what's come to me, Isabel sharing this and the way she, not just the way she shared, but the courage to share about her grandson. Something that I've learned in focusing is the importance of the we, and to be able to extend that. And it's maybe implicit, but focusing explicated it for me to be able to say, we now, I feel we have this grandson now. I haven't had, well, it's not another time. This is a real cliffhanger. I'll tell you about my incarcerated relatives. So I like to remember that from time to time, but I didn't in my lifetime have the experience of having a young Black grandchild or brown grandchild who's incarcerated. And I can appreciate feeling like, oh, I don't want to take this to polite company. And now I feel just so grateful that you did. Like now you had said, Isabel, earlier, sharing this, there are things one can't bear alone, and one shouldn't bear. I think we should bear nothing alone, frankly. I think we should share and hold it together, and I feel privileged to. And now it's with all of us. We have this young man without knowing the circumstances, and we're up against the penal system and this country and racism, and it's right here in our laps, and that feels very important to have. And I'm so grateful you didn't keep it from us or feel you had to kind of manage it and manage us. I'm really grateful to have it and to be in it with you.
Wow, that sounds like a wonderful ending to our meeting. And I loved your saying, Rachel, that we have a new grandchild here in our group. And I can't wait to get to know him better. And I want to share some of the songs that my brother wrote with him. But I better hear his songs first. Any brief last comments that anybody has before we? We didn't get to talk about our projects, but let's flag that up for something that we'll talk about next time.